Hey, it's Chico, and in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about finding cash buyers. And specifically, I'm not going to give you 100 different ways to find cash buyers. I'm going to give you 4 my most recommended ways to find cash buyers so that you can go out and you can find buyers for your properties so that you can sell them and make money. Because if you don't have the right cash buyers, then what you're going to end up happening is, what's going to end up happening, and I got a few guests here, we're just walking home. What's going to end up happening is that then you'll put properties on the contract, but then you can't sell them, and you think, oh my gosh, this business doesn't work. But it would have worked if you only had some cash buyers. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. All right, so my kids were creating a ruckus, not allowing me to video. So they're going up to the room to get themselves settled for bed, and I am here with you for a few minutes to talk to you about how to find the best absolute buyers for a real estate deal. And again, I'm not here to tell you about 100 ways to find buyers, just a handful of ways that I know work in order for you to be able to get the buyers you need. And let's talk about first item. Now, before I get into that, I want to tell you that the big picture around this, the most important thing when it comes to finding buyers is that you have to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and smash that like button. I couldn't help it. All right, but you got to do that anyway. And always remember that if you are looking for a way to find amazing real estate deals in a completely unsaturated way, meaning no direct mail, no cold calling, then Facebook ads is where it's at, because nobody's doing it. Very small number of people are doing it. And on top of that, there are people that are doing it, and they're doing it wrong, because I do it a particular way. We're getting amazing results, tremendous ROI. That's what I look at. I look at tremendous ROI, meaning, you know, if you go ahead and you implement a strategy, how quickly can you get money out? So now you're even or profitable, and now you can start banking on that money versus other strategies that, you know, you put money in, and you're like, hey, where's the money that's supposed to come out? But enough of that, because I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk to you. Oh, by the way, go to flipanywhere.com, or hit the, there's some links here in the description, and you can attend some of my trainings. Now, let's talk about cash buyers. The first step, the first way of finding cash buyers, I'm gonna walk you through them in order of the easiest to the more difficult. All right. Now, the easiest, tried and true, always works, although in some markets it works better than others, so it just depends. By the way, in case you're wondering, I'm here on my phone. People always asking me what I'm using to record. I'm using a lapel microphone here to record the video. I mean, I'll touch that so you don't get any background noise. And also I'm using a light on top of my phone. Let me just take this out and show you. Oh, let me see, can you see that? There goes my stand right there. That's where it looks like. All right, on with the show. All right, good old Craigslist. In certain markets, it works amazing. Other markets, it doesn't work as well. You know, you got to try. I am not a fan of the ghost ads. Some people swear by them. I'm more of the, you know, being very specific, because what happens is a lot of times these ghost ads, and when I say ghost ads, meaning ads that are not really advertising a particular property, and so a lot of times they get flagged very quickly with Craigslist. And so I would try to make the ad. Think of yourself as if you were a private owner looking to sell one property. How would you put together that ad? What would you say? How would you come across, etc.? And so that's the way that I put the ad together. You know, hey, handyman special, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, asking below market, and I would put a story behind it. Anything I've done in terms of success when it comes to, say, direct mail, or anything for that matter, has always done better when there's a story behind it. And what do I mean by that? A story could be that instead of you putting an ad and saying, hey, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, must be sold, 3-2 cash, below market, blah blah blah, and it's just all bullets. That works. However, what would work better is if you put a story behind it and say, I put this ad together because I really need to sell this property. It needs work, so it's really not for someone that is looking to buy something for themselves to live, and it really is going to require somebody who has the cash, who has the funds available to be able to buy this property, make the repairs, and then fix it up. I am willing to sell it at a discount because of that. And so, now one thing, however, let me backtrack. If you are assigning the deal, then I would suggest that you say that. I have a property that I have under contract that at the end it needs way more work than I myself was prepared. And so rather than letting it go, I'm looking to sell my contract on this property. It's a property that's worth $150,000 and I'm willing to let it go for $85,000, well, whatever the number is. If you're interested, reach out to me and then we can have a discussion and see if it's something that would, work for you. So if you think about it, that's more conversational versus the typical, handyman special, 30,000 below market, call, blah, 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 right? You're putting a story behind it. Also, I think that being that way and approaching it that way is going to enable you to have that ad not being flagged. Now, depending on the market, a lot of times what ends up happening is that those ads get pushed on rather quickly, and so then you have to repost. And so that's one option, Craigslist, right? Now, the second option is the Facebook buy and sell groups. Now, those are great options, and in certain markets, those are better than Craigslist. So you have to figure out what works in your market. But again, a buy and sell group is one that I would put an ad in. I would also put the ad so that it very much mimics the same type of ad and approach that I just mentioned on Craigslist, come across in a very personal way. And you got to think about it, most investors are not coming across that way. So you're looking for a way to stand out from the crowd. And so I'm always a fan of storytelling. So again, putting a story behind it, putting a reasons why. Here's a situation, I really need to sell this. It's a great deal because you can buy it, you can fix it up, and you can sell it and make $20,000, $30,000, or you can hold it and hold on to it as a rental property. And the reason that I'm not doing that is because I just don't have the cash to be able to do that kind of work. And so if you're interested in that kind of a deal, then let's connect, because I'd love to tell you more about the property. And that's the way that I would describe it. I wouldn't put the address on any of these ads, the specific address, mainly because you don't want somebody driving by the house and causing problems where they're not going to seller's door or anything like that. So that's something that I wouldn't do. Let's talk about the next way of finding your cash buyers, and that is through kind of a hybrid of what I used to do. Back when I got started, back when nobody was really doing this, is you would get a list of the buyers and you would get a list of all the corporations and the cash buyers that have recently purchased a property in the area that I have a property in, and then I would go ahead and send them a postcard, and then I would then call everybody back. Now you can still do that. Although it's sometimes it lacks the punch that it used to. It depends on the market. Let's talk about this. If you go to chrischico.com/postcard, that's my postcard for sellers. But you can take that same card and use it for buyers. All right, and then what you can do is then just put a message on that. Use a 24-hour recorded message. Use a message on that postcard, and the postcard will say, "Hey, thanks for calling me back. The reason I sent you this postcard is because I have a property that I am looking to sell, and I thought that you might be interested because you just bought a property near this same property that I'm looking to sell." Or you could say, "I have a contract for a property that I'm looking to sell, and I'd love to chat with you about it. Please leave your name, number, and a detailed message, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible." And then you're going to call everybody back. Again, if you go to chrischico.com/postcard, you get a copy of my postcard. It's meant for sellers, but it's a blind copy card, so you can take that card, use it for the buyers. And you go to ListSource, listsource.com, or any of these services. You can put a list of the most recent cash buyers, or and ListSource would be the most recent purchases of property in that particular zip code or circumference around area around the property that you're looking to sell. And if you're using listsource.com, then you are targeting absentee owners that have recently purchased a property. So take all the corporations and here's the thing, you're going to have two different types of buyers. You're going to have the corporations, you're going to have the regular buyers, individual buyers. What I found is that the individual buyers are hit and miss, because many times they bought a property, they don't typically buy that many, so maybe they bought one and now they're not in the market to buy another one for quite a while. Versus if you have a buyer that's buying in a corporation, then that's something that they do routinely because it's their business, and so they're more likely to be not only a buyer for now, but a buyer for later. So you would take those people and send them the blank copy postcard, and it would be sent to the corporation. However, with the corporations, sometimes they use a different address, right? They might have an address for their attorney or their whoever they have on record for that corporation. So it's hit and miss. So what I would do is I would take that corporation, I would look up that corporation and whatever the corporate website is that you have for your local state, and my state is sunbiz.org, and then you would go ahead and find the names of those individuals that own the corporation, and then I would go ahead and skip trace those individuals and then call them. All right, it's worth it because you know that they're buying properties, and of course you would like the phone number. And once you talk to them, if they're not a buyer for this property, wow, a lot of activity happening on here. If they're not a buyer today, they're going to be a buyer later. So again, that's another approach for buyers. And then the last but not least, but it requires a little bit more know-how, would be running ads for buyers on Facebook. And you've heard me talk about running ads for sellers on Facebook, right? We're doing zip code targeting, and we're have a specific type of ad. So if you're running ads for buyers on Facebook, then you are targeting a geographic area, and let's say you have your zip code and you have the surrounding area, and then what you're doing is you are putting interest in that particular you're putting interest into the targeting, and you're putting anything you can related to real estate investing, real estate agents, real estate broker, property manager. You're going to find all those interests, and if you're in my Find Motivated Sellers online group and course, then you have access to that information, and then you're going to be running an ad, and the ads, I give you the ad templates for that, but you're going to be running an ad saying, I would just put a picture of a house that looks really horrible, like in your local area, and then put a little yellow bandit sign that says handyman special, must be sold. Use the same approach. If you ever driven around town, you see those ads, those signs, those bandit signs that says, hey, handyman 3-1 for sale, cash only, call this number. That's the same approach. Don't put the phone number, but the same approach, a yellow sign. And then you're going to use a Facebook lead form. They'll submit the lead form, and then now you're going to call those people back. And you're going to get agents, and you're going to get cash buyers. And it's okay because a lot of agents have buyers. The nice thing is if you have 10 agents and each of them have 10 buyers, all of a sudden you have 100 buyers in a very quick fashion. And so you're going to be running that ad, and typically you're going to spend, depending on the market, $2 to $4 per buyer lead, which is very good compared to, let's say, if you're advertising for sellers, typically, depending on the market, you might be at 10, 15, and then all the way up to 20 to 25, 30. It depends if you know what you're doing, if you do things right, and if you follow my system, then you can get better numbers. But for buyers, you're always going to have buyers at a much lesser cost than you would with sellers. And you run that ad, and you just call everybody back that submits their form or makes a comment. See, people will make a comment, etc. So let's backtrack. So we talked about in terms of buyers, right? What do we talk about? We talked about, I have amnesia. What's the first thing I talked about? Damn it, I must be running around all day, the sun. We talked about Craigslist. We talked about buy and sell groups. We talked about the most recent cash transactions, and then reverse getting the information for those buyers, especially the LLCs, and then taking and skip tracing and going ahead and giving those individuals a call. And then we also talked about running Facebook ads in your geographic region to be able to find buyers. So in the order of, if I was to do it, I would do it in the order of Facebook first, and I would do Facebook simultaneously with the buy and sell groups. Craigslist, I think, in my market, it's a pain in the ass. I think you have to be consistent. You have to be persistent with Facebook, but it could be different in your market. And then in terms of the cash buyers, I would hire a VA to do the research, figure out the names, and work through that process. So then we can get the names, and then I would have an assistant call those people. And all of them are good. I mean, that is a solid foundation. The other things that you can do, I'll throw these in there, is you could put out the bandit signs that everybody puts out. That's one option. I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of bandit signs. The whole thought of just running around all over town with those in my car, I don't like. But for buyers, maybe I might be willing to be okay with that. But it's not as targeted. You know, like if I'm targeting Facebook ads, I'm getting people that raise their hands and say, hey, I'm interested, which is great. If I am calling owners of corporations that recently bought a property, very targeted. If I'm putting something in the buy-sell group or the Craigslist and then somebody's reaching out to me, very targeted. The signs feel always more like a Hail Mary. So that's maybe the reason why I wouldn't do the signs. The other option is talk to other wholesalers. Now, in the beginning, when you talk to, I guess we'll cover this here. When you talk to wholesalers, you don't need to necessarily give up half of your deal. It just depends on the situation. So what I would suggest is do your best to find your own buyers. And then, however, if you're having a hard time, go to another wholesaler. Don't go to like 10 of them, but just start talking to them and feeling them out and say, what do you typically want on a deal? And, you know, it depends on the deal. Some of them say, I want 50% of the deal. Some of them will say, look, you know, just tell me what you want and I'll add my fee on top. Or, you know, I'm looking to make, you know, 3 to 5K depending on the deal. That's what you want. Because if you're making a deal that say you're only making $5,000, in that scenario, you might split it with another wholesaler because there's not that much to go, right? However, if you have a deal that you're making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, you're not going to want to give up 50% of that deal. So you're better off working with another wholesaler, and you might give them $5K, and that's their take on the deal. They'll push it out and they'll sell it, and then you've got the bulk of the money. Now, if they say, well, gee, you know, I'm not going to do it for that much, etc., then for that little bit of money, then you have to explain to them, look, it may seem that I'm making all this money, but I got a lot of advertising costs. I got a lot of other costs associated with picking up this deal. So it's not like free money. I mean, I've invested money in order to be able to make this, and I need to be able to make a reasonable profit. So it's not like as if all that money is free money, right? I spend a lot of money every single month doing marketing to be able to facilitate and find these deals. And so that's the reason why I can't do 50%. Now, everything always has an asterisk. What if you cannot find a buyer? You're at your last couple of days of the contract, or maybe even beyond that, and you've got to somehow, some way, you got to find a buyer, otherwise you're going to lose this deal. And you talk to a wholesaler, and he says, I got a buyer, but I want 50%. And you know, you can try to negotiate, do the best you can, but if that other wholesaler says, take it or leave it, and you got nothing else, then guess what? You got to take it. So it just depends. But hopefully that'll give you a framework of not only where to find buyers, but in addition to that, I just threw in a bonus on how to find wholesalers. Now, the nice thing about wholesalers is that you can talk to them, figure out, you know, in your market, there might be 10 or whatever, figure out the ones that have the best distribution, the best list, get on their list so you can see what they send out, and start building a relationship with them. And many times they'll tell you, like, yeah, I think you bought that deal too high. You need to get it lower. And the benefit to that is that if you have a deal, you could be working your own buyers, etc. But if you got another wholesaler that says, look, I just want 3K on the deal, and if you can pay me that, I'd be more than happy to send it out on my list, or 5K, whatever the number is, you got enough spread, then you can tell them, look, go ahead and do it. If you have that conversation early on with them, as opposed to the tail end when you can't sell it, then with that other wholesaler, that they might be able to give you some insight on that deal, and they might be able to say, you know, I think you bought that deal too high because I just sold, you know, I had 2 others that I tried to sell at that price, or maybe a little bit lower, and I wasn't able to sell them. So they might be able to give you some market intelligence in terms of where you should be at with your deals, in order for you to be able to help, you know, in order for you to be able to move them and be able to be at the right price, right? So that's the other benefit of dealing with wholesalers. I always say that never say never. I work with other wholesalers. I do try and make it so that it's a win-win. Look, if I'm making 100K on the deal, I'm not going to try and like squeeze that other wholesaler and then try to have them make only $1,000. right? Just because I could get away with it, and tell him that, man, I'm not making hardly any money in this deal, and that he's going to do all this work for $1,000. I wouldn't feel right about that. So, right, but I don't want to give up 50% of the deal. So, like on one of my bigger deals that I had for $98,000 or something like that, ended up being that there was a couple other wholesalers, and they made about $12,000 off of that deal, and I was perfectly okay with that because they brought the buyers, etc. But we had a lot of costs associated with getting that deal, and so that's how it ended up. And that is my tip for today. Remember, I said subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Let me know if you are watching this video and you think, you know what, Chico, you missed this other tactic that is really doing well for me. Why don't you share it with me? Share it here for everyone who's commenting and listening. And I love to find more ways to find buyers, because at the end of the day, you could have a deal it's an amazing deal, but if you don't have the distribution for it, you're not going to be able to sell it. You're not going to be able to make money, and you might falsely think, oh, there are no deals, but it's just because you got no buyers. All right, it's Chico, over and out.